This section covers setting Logic up for initial use. Logic needs to know some things about you and your station before you can start logging QSOs. So click on Tools, Setup, and Station Information, and it brings up the Station Info window. Now this window is displayed automatically after you install Logic, but if for some reason it doesn't, or you need to come back and change your settings, you know how to get to it. The most important thing for setting Logic up is to make sure that Windows is set up properly so that the correct coordinated universal time and daylight savings time will be accounted for. Click this little clock button here. It brings up the proper section of the Windows control panel that lets you adjust your time zone. So double check your time zone setting and make sure that automatically adjust clock for daylight savings time changes is turned on. If you forget to turn this on and daylight savings time occurs, Logic will start logging the wrong coordinated universal time, and about the only way to fix it would be go back and manually edit every QSO. Likewise, if you're in Europe or someplace that has European summertime, make sure that the automatic change is set up properly. If you live in an area that doesn't have daylight savings time, you don't have to worry about it, but do make sure that you have the correct time zone set and that automatically adjust clock for daylight savings time changes is turned on. This is very important. If you want complete control over the time that Logic logs, it permits you to do that. You can turn off auto UTC offset and enter the number here that Logic will add or subtract from the system clock to calculate coordinated universal time. If for some reason you have your system clock set to UTC, enter a 0 here and it will just log the system clock time into your log. But for the most part, 99% of the time you're going to want to just let Logic and Windows handle everything. Okay, the next thing to do is tell Logic where your station's located. It needs to know your latitude and longitude. If you know what it is, enter it here, and remember that the stations in that the latitudes in North America and South America, everybody in the Western Hemisphere has a negative latitude. A lot of maps don't show that, so if you're entering your latitude and longitude from a map, just make sure that you put the proper sign when you enter it. If you don't, it'll be obvious because the distances and directions will be way off, and you can come back here and fix it. Likewise, if you know your grid square, you can enter that instead. You enter the grid square and it updates the latitude and longitude for you and vice versa. But if you're like me and like most of us, we don't know our exact latitude and longitude. So Logic has several tools to help us approximate. If you're in the United States, select your state from this nifty drop-down list and then select your zip code. There's a drop-down list so you can scroll through. If you don't remember your zip code, maybe you'll see your town name. If your zip code isn't listed in this drop-down list, just select someplace close. There are new zip codes added all the time. And notice I don't have to scroll through the whole list looking for my zip code. I can just type it in. If I type quickly, it'll go to the right place. If you live outside of the United States, you can use Logic's prefix table to approximate your latitude and longitude. This is the same database that it uses for figuring out beam headings when you're working DX. The prefix table approximates to the approximate center of your country, or if you're in a large country, sometimes down to the area of the country. So type in your complete call sign, and notice it gives us the latitude and longitude for the approximate center of Alberta. Notice it also filled in the grid square for us. You can use Logic's airport database to get an even closer approximation. Here's listed all of the airports within several hundred miles of the center of Alberta. And I can come down here and find the one closest to our QTH and say set latitude and longitude to this airport. And if I live close to that airport, I have a very close approximation. Latitude and longitude actually is not that critical for HF work. If you're a degree off, in latitude or longitude, that's only 50, 75 miles or so, depending on where you live. For a station that's several hundred miles away from you, the beam heading error is going to be negligible. But for VHF work and for other features that Logic has, it's good to get the latitude and longitude as close as you can to your actual location. Let me set it back to where I'm located. One other thing to set up in Logic is select an airport close to me for local weather. It normally selects the closest one to me anyway based on the latitude and longitude that I entered, but I may want to select a different airport that has more reliable equipment or reports more frequently. Or if your local airport has equipment failure or is closed or something, you can come here and select a different airport. Winder Barrow, actually, even though it's a mile farther from me than Lawrenceville is, they have automated equipment that seems to send continuous data to the internet, so I'll select that one. Enter your address and station information as you want it to appear on your QSL cards. Whoops. Here's some information that appears on your QSL card just to tell something about yourself and your station. Your handle and QTH can be inserted into Logic's function keys for transmitting over RTTY or PSK31 or CW. So fill those in. Also fill in your default power. This will be entered automatically for you on the log screen. Logic doesn't require you to log power, but some countries require it, and most of us like to keep it for a matter of record. And if you're not actually operating 500 watts, or as I used in this example, whatever you enter here, you can easily change it while you log the QSO. Finally, go back to this page and make sure that your call sign and your DXCC country and your state, if it's applicable, and your continent are filled out properly. This is used for contest scoring and can also be inserted into digital exchanges and CW exchanges using Logic's function keys. So once we have everything set up properly, click OK. Logic will update the distance and direction tables that it uses to calculate beam headings, and tell it yes, you would like to redraw the map. It's quite slow with this video capture software I have running right now, but on most systems it'll finish in well under a minute. And we can actually continue to use Logic while the map is drawing in the background. Oh, there, it's done. Okay. Logic set up now, and we're ready to begin using it.